Hi. Welcome to Inference. This is the place where you learn and improve. In this video, I will be talking about Fabian Socialism. The 19th century saw unprecedented social, political, and economic upheaval in Europe. The Industrial Revolution brought new technologies and innovations, but it also brought rapid urbanization, harsh working conditions, and growing inequality. In response, a group of British intellectuals known as the Fabian Socialists emerged as one of the most prominent voices for change. They rejected the violent revolution advocated by some of their contemporaries, believing instead in gradual, democratic reforms as the key to achieving social justice. The Fabians were a diverse group with a range of beliefs and perspectives, but they shared a common vision of a more equal society. They believed that the government had a crucial role to play in regulating and intervening in the economy through measures such as progressive taxation, public services, and welfare programs. They saw the state as a means of redistributing wealth and ensuring that all citizens had access to necessities like healthcare, education, and housing. The Fabian Society, founded in 1884, was the primary vehicle for promoting their ideas and influencing policy. The society was named after the Roman general Fabius Maximus, who was known for his tactics of attrition and patience in warfare. Similarly, the Fabians believed in a patient, gradual approach to social reform, rather than a sudden overthrow of the existing system. Some of the most influential members of the Fabian Society included playwright George Bernard Shaw, economist Sidney Webb, and his wife, social reformer Beatrice Webb. Shaw was a prolific writer and thinker who believed that the state should provide a basic income for all citizens, which would alleviate poverty and stimulate economic growth. The Webbs, meanwhile, wrote The History of Trade Unionism, arguing that unions were a vital force for workers' rights and should be recognized as legitimate partners in the economic system. The Fabians' tactics were often criticized as deceptive, and their gradual approach was seen by some as too cautious. However, many of their proposals were eventually adopted as official policies, and their legacy can still be seen in many modern democracies, where progressive taxation, public services, and social welfare programs have become the norm. In this video, we will explore the key beliefs and values of the Fabian Socialists, examine some of their most important proposals, and consider their lasting impact on modern politics. From their rejection of violent revolution to their vision of a more equal society, the Fabians continue to shape the way we think about democracy and social justice today. At its core, Fabian Socialism was about advocating for a more just and equitable society. The Fabians believed that the government had a responsibility to intervene in the economy to ensure social justice, and they put forward a range of proposals for achieving this goal. One of the key ideas of Fabian Socialism was the notion of progressive taxation. The Fabians believed that the wealthy should pay a higher proportion of their income in taxes than the poor, to fund public services and redistribute wealth. They also advocated for the establishment of a welfare state, where the government would provide necessities like healthcare, education, and housing to all citizens. Another important proposal put forward by the Fabians was the nationalization of certain industries, such as railways and coal mines. They believed that this would allow for greater efficiency, as well as provide better working conditions and wages for employees. The Fabians also supported the formation of workers' cooperatives, where employees would collectively own and manage their workplaces. The Fabians were also strong advocates for women's rights and gender equality. They supported the right of women to vote, as well as access to education and employment opportunities. They also recognized the importance of addressing issues such as domestic violence and unequal pay. While the Fabians rejected violent revolution as a means of achieving social change, they did not shy away from challenging the status quo. They saw themselves as a vanguard of progressive thought and believed that they could bring about lasting change through education, persuasion, and political activism. Overall, the Fabians sought to build a society that was more equal and just, where everyone had access to necessities and opportunities. While their proposals were often criticized as being overly idealistic or unrealistic, many of their ideas have since been adopted in various forms by governments around the world, and their legacy can still be felt today. H.G. Wells was a science fiction writer and social commentator who was briefly a member of the Fabian Society. He wrote extensively on the need for social and economic reform and advocated for a more equal and just society. He was also a vocal critic of imperialism and war. Annie Besant was a women's rights activist and the first female member of the Fabian Society. She was a strong advocate for women's suffrage and access to education, as well as an early supporter of Indian independence. Ramsay MacDonald was a Labour Party politician who was heavily influenced by the Fabian Society. He served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in the 1920s and 1930s and oversaw several significant social and economic reforms, including the establishment of the National Health Service. While these are just a few of the key thinkers associated with the Fabian Society, they illustrate the diversity of perspectives and areas of expertise represented by the Society's members. Together, they helped to shape the ideology of democratic socialism, and their ideas continue to influence social and political thought to this day. The Fabian Society was known for its proposals for progressive social and economic reform, many of which have since been adopted by governments around the world. Here are a few of the key Fabian proposals. 1. The welfare state. The Fabians were strong advocates for the establishment of a welfare state, in which the government would provide necessities like healthcare, education, and housing to all citizens, regardless of their income or social status. This idea was based on the belief that the state had a responsibility to ensure the well-being of its citizens, and that access to necessities should not be contingent on one's ability to pay. 2. Progressive taxation. The Fabians believed in the principle of progressive taxation, in which those with higher incomes would pay a greater percentage of their earnings in taxes. They argued that this would help to reduce income inequality and ensure that those who were most able to contribute to society were doing so. 3. Nationalization. The Fabians supported the nationalization of certain industries, particularly those that were seen as crucial to the well-being of the nation. This included industries like healthcare, education, and transportation, which they believed should be publicly owned and operated to ensure that they were accessible to all. 4. Workers' rights. The Fabians were strong advocates for workers' rights, and believed that workers should have a say in the management of their workplaces. They supported the formation of workers' cooperatives and the nationalization of certain industries, as well as the establishment of minimum wage laws and other protections for workers. 5. Women's rights. The Fabians were also strong advocates for women's rights, and supported the right of women to vote as well as access to education and employment opportunities. They believed that gender equality was essential to the achievement of a more just and equitable society. These proposals were based on the Fabians' belief in the power of the state to promote social and economic progress, and their commitment to gradual, peaceful reform rather than violent revolution. While some of these ideas were controversial at the time, many have since been adopted by governments around the world, and the legacy of the Fabian Society continues to be felt in debates about the role of the state in promoting social and economic justice. The Fabian Society was one of the most influential social and political movements of the 20th century, and its legacy continues to be felt today. Here are a few of the key ways in which the Fabians have shaped contemporary social and political thought. Democratic socialism. The Fabian Society was a key proponent of democratic socialism, which seeks to use democratic means to achieve socialist ends. This approach has influenced social and political movements around the world and has played a significant role in shaping the policies of left-leaning political parties. Social and economic research. The Fabians' commitment to rigorous social and economic research has had a lasting impact on policymaking in many countries. Their emphasis on evidence-based policy has helped to promote more effective and equitable social and economic policies. The legacy of the Fabian Society is not without controversy, however. Some have criticized the Fabians for their gradualist approach to social and economic reform, arguing that it is not sufficient to address the root causes of inequality and injustice. Others have criticized the Fabians for their elitism and their failure to fully represent the interests of working-class people. Despite these criticisms, however, there is no doubt that the Fabian Society played a major role in shaping modern social and political thought, and that their legacy continues to be felt in debates about the role of the state, the nature of social justice, and the meaning of democracy. While the challenges facing our societies today may be different from those faced by the Fabians, their example can still provide inspiration and guidance for those working to build a better world. Alright, folks, that is for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new about Fabian socialism. If you did enjoy it, please do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications to make sure that you do not miss future videos. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.